Friendship is so important, and at the same time, it is so hard. We all need friendship. We know we need friendship. God told Adam in the garden right at the very beginning, it's not good for him to be alone. And God wasn't simply talking about procreation. We need friends. And yet, at the same time, friends can be kind of awful. They ignore us, they forget about us, they talk about us behind our backs. They are so much work. Enough that we wonder, is it worth it to put in the effort to have friends? And sadly, more and more Americans are deciding friendships are not worth it. We are becoming more and more isolated and removed from one another. Men especially have the worst time making friends with other adult men. And into the friendship crisis steps Bryan Loritts with his new short book, Enduring Friendship. This book is written at a length where it is welcoming even to the most busy of people. If you're one of those people who say, I don't have enough time for friends, well, you have enough time to glean the wisdom that comes from enduring friendships. And one of the things that I really loved about this book is the honesty from Bryan in it. He doesn't come across as someone who has this amazing bond with all these friends that have endured and weathered every storm, and his friendships all appear unbreakable, and, it's impossible for anyone to reach up to Bryan's standard for friendship. When Bryan began to write about his wedding party and the friends who were standing beside him at his wedding, I was bracing to listen to this guy talk about how all of these men stood by me when I was married, and they're still just as close to me all these years later. And then I was just going to sit in envy over wanting to have what he had. Instead, Bryan shares how he walked through brokenness with those friends. He shared honestly how he's had friendships with those men that have crumbled. And importantly, both because of his failures and theirs. And I really appreciate that integrity. It helped a long way toward giving me an open heart to see what Bryan can teach all of us from the Word of God. And then he provides very important lessons on how to have enduring friendship that come from the book of Philemon. So let me tell you a little bit more about what I loved regarding enduring friendship. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more books that will help you with life's most important relationships, please subscribe to the channel in order to stay up to date with my latest reviews. And also, I really want to encourage you to like this video if you get any enjoyment about it at all, and then also share it. Your shares go such a long way in helping other people know about the work of Bryan Loritts. The first thing that I want to touch on in this book is what I wanted to find in enduring friendship, but it didn't contain it in the book. And then I want to cover what's in the book because most everything that was in here was consistently helpful throughout. So the one thing I wanted to see in this book was the struggle that I think a lot of adults have with friendship, and that is very often our friendship issues aren't with anything that anyone has done wrong against us, but it's more with what I would call friendship logistics, or maybe just simply a lack of energy and time. You see, I have two friends. They are my friends Josh, and I want to have close bonds with both of those Joshes. My problem is, one, the old Josh is in New York, the other new Josh here in New Orleans, and I love both those guys, but my struggle is the old Josh, him and I are separated by 1,300 miles, and it's hard to have that enduring friendship with him. And then my new Josh friend, well, the two of us, we have lives that are just so busy that it is hard to find the times that you need to connect in order to develop those friendships. And so I was hoping somewhere in this book that it might help with those type of, logistical struggles in friendship, but that's not the issue that this book is dealing with. Instead, this book is written for those whose friendships have been marred or even broken by sin, hurt feelings, actions of betrayal, moments of anger or envy. And for those moments, to be able to have enduring friendships that can survive the pain of a sin against another person, a sin against you, for that, this book is excellent. And what makes it excellent is that I would say Bryan sticks to the script. This book is written using Philemon as his guide and the relationship of the runaway slave Onesimus and restoring his friendship with Philemon that was broken apart by sin. That book in the New Testament is such a great model on two men coming back together following an earthquake of sin in their relationship, and then their relationship becoming, Lord willing, we don't know the results of the book actually, but Lord willing, the result of that letter is their friendship was better than it was before the breakup. Philemon owned Onesimus as a slave, and one would imagine that Philemon would have treated Onesimus in multiple sinful ways, especially since he drove Onesimus to run away. And as Bryan points out in the book, it would also be difficult to think of a scenario where Onesimus was not involved in some type of theft from Philemon in order to escape. And thinking of how they would have wronged each other, Bryan writes, sin makes thieves of us all, because the epicenter of sin is self. And then Paul calls Philemon and Onesimus to do the hard work of reconciling. And what I love about this book is that Bryan's continued emphasis is that in order to make friendship work, it's got to be about saving the relationship, and it cannot be concerned with winning ourselves, winning the argument, winning the sympathy of someone else, winning as the one who is the most oppressed, or winning as the one who has the most difficult life to deal with. If you want to win for your friendship, you might need to lose personally. The price you will pay will always end up being better in the end to restore that friendship together. But if you want to always be in the right, if you want to always be the person who is the most oppressed of all of your friends, if you need to win in order to have peace, well, you're going to sacrifice your friendship and the good of others so that you can win for yourself. When we need to be willing to sacrifice our momentary pleasures and what makes us feel good for our love and friendship of those around us. And I loved Bryan's point that all this needs to be centered on Jesus Christ. Because if we're going to try to look to ourselves in order to have the right kind of motivation to find and maintain lasting friendships, we will always fail if we're working from our own strength. Here's one of my favorite parts of the book. Paul situates Onesimus's value, not in his actions, but in his being. He is someone who Jesus stretched out his hands and died for. This unsettles me because I can't evade the gospel's harrowing truth. Jesus died for the lynched and the lynch mob, the faithful spouse and the philandering one, the friend who kept his confidence and the one who betrayed the confidence. It is by looking to Christ and his work that we find the inspiration to love those that we would naturally label as unlovable, and to forgive those that we would say we cannot forgive. If you find yourself surrounded by broken friendships, but you can't build up the courage in yourself or the humility to make it right, enduring friendships might be the exact motivation and inspiration, and more importantly, biblical guidance that you need in order to make your friendships right.